In today's tutorial, we will be working on the back side of page 1. So I have my base page I'm just going to set aside for now and start cutting some of my cardstock. The first piece I have measures 3 inches by 9 1/8 of an inch. On the 9 1/8 of an inch side, I'm going to score this at 3 inches and 6 1/8 inch. Next, I have a piece that measures 5 1/2 by 1 1/4. On the 5 1/2 inch side, I'm going to score this at 1/2 inch on the left-hand side. I have another piece, it's 5 1/2 by 7 1/2. On the 5 1/2 inch side, I'm going to score at 1/2 inch down the left-hand side. I have a piece that measures 5 3/4 by 7 1/2. On the 5 3/4 inch side, I'm going to score this at 1/2 inch down the right-hand side. And then I have one piece that measures 4 1/2 by 6 1/4. On the 4 1/2 inch side, I'm going to score this at 1/2 inch on the right-hand side. Next, I'm going to take my scissors and miter all of the ends on these 1/2 inch tab sections. Then I will use my bone folder to fold on those score lines and burnish those folds nice and flat. Then I'll come back and we'll start putting the page together. I'll be starting with my 5 1/2 by 7 1/2 inch piece. I'm going to first apply my adhesive to my 1/2 inch tab section on this piece, and then this piece is going to go on the left side of my page. So I'm just going to line up the score line with the left edge of my page, making sure that the top and the bottom edges are straight. And then I will burnish this down. And place a P here because this is going to be a pocket. Next, I'm going to take the little band piece and apply my adhesive to that small tab. Using my centering ruler, I'm going to place this in the center of this flap. It is 5/8 of an inch from the center. I'm going to line up that score line and then adhere this piece down. Then I'm going to take my 5 3/4 by 7 1/2 inch piece, and with this piece, once I have my adhesive on this 1/2 inch tab section, I'm going to place this one on the right-hand side of the page. So again, lining up that score line with the end of the page, and then making sure the top and the bottom is straight, and burnishing this one down. Now I'm going to open up the small closure band. It's going to go on top of this piece here. Then I have my little trifold piece. I've just folded this into thirds. This piece is going to go here on my closure band. So I am going to mark first where this is centered. So it's just past 1 1/2 in this direction. Since it is 3 1/8, it's a little bit tricky to see. So I'm just going to eye mine. And then I'm going to move my ruler over here, and I'm going to center with this in the edge of my flap. So that'll be right here. So I'm just going to draw a line across there, and then I'm going to draw a line on each side of my closure band here and here, where I'm going to place my my piece here because that's where I'm going to need to place my adhesive. So I'll just put my adhesive right on this band. Then taking my piece, I'm just going to line it up with those marks that I've made. And then use my bone folder to burnish this down. Opening that small closure up and the flap up, I'm going to take my final piece, bringing my ruler over here to this side. I'm going to apply my adhesive here and place this flap right in the center on the edge, on the right edge of my flap. So that'll be at 3 1/8 from center. And then I'll burnish this down. Then I'll go ahead and close this up and this up here. And we are ready for our decorative papers. Before putting any of my papers on, I am going to add a magnetic closure here. So I have my magnet and it needs to be in the center of this, but on the back side. So it's about 1/2 inch from the edge. Then I'll place my second magnet, remove that backing, and close this to place my second magnet. Now you want to make sure it's not too close to the edge because it's much harder to cover with paper. So that's why I do try to bring it in about 1/2 inch, sometimes more. From this 8 by 8 paper, I have first cut this piece to 5 inches by 8 inches. Then I've trimmed this to just at the top of that window, and then I took a little bit off of the bottom by the bike. So this is 7 1/4 by 5 inches. And I'm going to be placing this here on this right hand panel. Then I have 2 pieces of ribbon that are cut to 9 inches. I'm going to adhere one piece here to the front of this piece in the center. And then the second piece, I'm going to adhere down here at the bottom of the page and making sure that it's lined up with the edge of that first ribbon. So I will place the end on there and then move it to line everything up and adhere this down. For the front of my little booklet here, my little trifold insert, I had this piece, it's 3 inches. I did trim it down. I'm going to be using this piece, so I have a uniform border around all 4 sides, and I'll be placing the lamp image here on the center of my booklet. And then opening up, I'm going to place one of my images here, I believe. So just deciding which of the images you want to use. I think I'll use the wagon, and I'm going to place the wagon here. Then I'm going to cut 3 pieces for the inside piece to have my smaller photos. From my fussy cutting sheet, I have cut one piece to 1 1/2 by 1 inch. It's going to go right here on this piece. So I'm going to just place it right up against the edge of the trifold piece, and that'll give me my uniform border. Then I have another piece, it's 3/8 by 1 inch, and it's going to go over here on this side with the right edge right up against that trifold. Then for here, first I have a piece of this fussy cutting sheet that I have cut to 2 3/4 by 3 inches. It's going to go here on the center panel. Then from this fussy cutting sheet, I have cut 2 pieces that measure 2 3/4 and just slightly more than 2 3/4, just so that I have a smaller gap here between these 2 pieces. So I'm going to place all of these papers on, and then we'll start on the inside. From that fussy cutting sheet, I have cut 1 strip to 4 3/4 by 1 inch. I'm going to place this down here first across this whole piece. Then I have my final card. It's slightly smaller just based on the way I cut my borders than I would like it to be overall. It's going to have a little bit of a bigger border, but I am still going to use this, and I'm just going to adhere this right here into the center. Next, I'm going to take this 12 by 12 paper here, and from the left top corner, I've cut a piece that measures 8 3/4 by 7 1/4. Then I cut a piece that measures 4 inches, and I have this piece that's 4 3/4. Now this piece is going to go here on the front of this flap. I'm going to turn this piece over to the back side and place this piece first down here, and I'm going to make sure that I have that nice uniform border. That way this edge does tuck just slightly into this. Remember, we're going to make this a pocket. So I'm going to adhere this down, then I'm going to add my adhesive on the top and the bottom edge, close this, and place this here to cover these surfaces. From this fussy cutting sheet, I've cut this side to 3 3/4 inch. And I'm going to be placing this here on the front of my flap. Then from this 12 by 12 paper, I've cut this little card. I'm going to leave it like this, so you could either place a really small photo or you could use it for journaling. And then I have this from one of the fussy cutting sheets. I'm going to adhere this down here. So I'm going to apply my adhesive to this bottom portion and the left side portion, and adhere it down here in the bottom left-hand corner as a tuck spot for this little journaling card piece. So once this is on the page, this will just tuck right in here behind this. And then opening up, I've got for the back side, the other fussy cutting sheet, again, 3 3/4, the same length as the page, and we're going to adhere this one down here with space for a photo. From the 12 by 12 paper, I've cut from the bottom left corner. This piece is 5 1/8 by 4 3/4. I'm going to place this one here in the center. And then from my fussy cutting sheet, I've cut 2 pieces that are 5 1/8 by 1 1/4. This is going to go here and here. And then from that fussy cutting sheet that I've been using for the closure band and some other things, I've cut a piece to 4 inches by 1/2 inch. Now I'm going to adhere only the ends, and I'm going to place it right where that gap between these 2 papers is. So it's going to go right on the cardstock piece. The photo will slide behind it. And then from my fussy cutting paper, I have this piece here, and I'm going to apply this onto my band as a decoration. Once all of the pages are complete, I will come back in and add an insert for my pocket, and I will probably add some additional embellishments here and maybe over here. So for now, this is the page. I'm going to go ahead and close everything up and then tie my ribbons to keep my smaller little element closed. And I'm going to tie my ribbons up a little bit closer to this trifold piece. That way the ribbon isn't hanging so much out of the bottom. that's it for this tutorial. If you are just joining the tutorial series, don't forget to click on all the links in the description box below to collect the supplies that you will need from the Scrap and Create website as well as my Etsy shop to follow along and make the album. I'll see you in the next tutorial.